The hotel manager is talking his interrogators through a typical day he's had, and he's just gone through his morning routine, and he now tells you what happens next. I next put in an appearance at the front desk. Helen, my favorite receptionist, was on duty. Her face always lights up when I address her. She has qualities essential to the smooth running of the hotel, but suffers a little from social anxiety. So I always take time to express my appreciation of her and boost her self-confidence. Today, I found a portly, ill-dressed figure talking to her. He was leaning over the desk and subjecting her to a rapid, one-sided conversation. I could see she looked flustered. Him I recognized at once, our district's plainclothes Bobby. He often hangs around here. He has a bit of a reputation and likes to try his luck with the female staff. I'm sure he sees a strapping, irresistible hunk in the mirror when he shaves himself. To the girls, though, he's just another overweight, aging bore. Inspector de Vere, I greeted him warmly. What an unexpected pleasure. Helen smiled gratefully as I steered him away to my office. I sat him down in the most comfortable armchair and poured him a generous measure of malt. I tolerate him, of course. Although he's more Clouseau than Poirot, I find him a useful fund of station gossip when giving a relaxing tincture. He offers a valuable peek into the local constabulary mind. It helps me to keep tabs on what's bothering it. It seemed another painting in the Municipal Art Gallery had turned out to be a modern forgery. Elsewhere, environmental officers were hot on the trail of a worrisome outbreak of atmospheric pollution. Right now, though, his men were chasing up a missing persons case. Some parliamentary's bigwig's bit on the side's gone AWOL, he grumbled. That wouldn't particularly matter usually. The trouble is both he and the chief constable roll up their trouser legs at the same lodge, so we're being strong-armed into getting a quick result. They're also linking her to disappearances that go back years. Frankly, I don't see it myself. I bet the girl just bunked off without telling him. Still, there we are. He pulled out a cardboard folder and handed it over. And here these are. The folder contained over a dozen photographs, all headshots, all female. I leafed through them briskly. I can't help you myself, I said, but if any of them turned up here, my receptionist would certainly know. A tot or two later, I accompanied him back to the front desk. I gave the pictures to Helen. Just tell the inspector if you recognize any of these. She frowned hard at each one, shaking her head. It was clear she hadn't. Leave them with me, I told de Vere. I'll see the other shifts, give them the once-over. Who knows, you might get lucky. I guided him to the Beatrice Lounge and set up a tab at the bar, promising to look on him later. I returned to the lobby just as a stylish-looking lady entered. I sent Helen off on her lunch break. It's all very last minute, the man confided in me as I took up my position behind the desk. But I thought I'd surprise my husband with a romantic dinner and overnight stay somewhere different. It's the 10th anniversary of our first meeting. Perhaps you have something a little special? Let me see, I purred. Ah, yes, here we are. The Charlotte Suite. Renaissance-style oak four-poster, authentic period decor, up-to-date ensuite facilities. Sounds perfect. She filled in the booking form. Mrs. Elaine Gifford. As I escorted her to the lobby lift, she sent a text message. I apologize in advance for any poor reception she might encounter in the upper floors. It was something I told her we were still trying to fix. Upstairs, as I unlocked the door to the Charlotte Suite for her, I said, it's a house custom to offer guests a complimentary drink. Do you have any preferences? As a matter of fact, I'm rather partial to a white Russian. I'll see it turns up shortly. When my husband arrives, could you let him know I'm here? I'll send him straight up, I promised, then added, I hope it's not impertinent of me to mention it, but that's a striking head of hair you have. Is that its natural color? Actually, it is. I felt sure it was. I closed the door behind her. I spent some time checking all was well on the other floors, then returned downstairs. Back at the Beatrice Lounge, de Vere was making full use of his tab. I found him slumped over one of the circular tables, drink in hand, looking a little disconsolate, so I decided to keep him company for a bit. He'd become increasingly maudlin, brooding over his desolate personal life and ruining the approaching void of his retirement. He was also feeling distinctly overshadowed by his deputy inspector. As chance would have it, I'd met the man once before and could commiserate. He was a distinctly chilly soul. He had an unsettling stare of a 17th century witchfinder spotting a wart in your face. You felt suspected, judged, and sentenced within the space of a single glance. He's very curious about your hotel, De Vere told me. Really? You seem to have an unused extra top floor on top. You can see the bricked-in windows from outside. Oh, that, I said. I felt there wasn't enough trade for all the floors, so during the conversion, I blocked off the uppermost area for storage. It still has the old medical waste incinerator, you know. Not that I'd ever use it for burning excess rubbish, you understand. Your environmental chums wouldn't like that at all. De Vere shot me a sly grin and tapped the side of his nose in a knowing manner. Then he nodded upwards to the painting above the bar. A cracking bird, that. That, I replied somewhat stiffly, is a picture of Beatrice, Dante's Divine Muse, one of Gabriele Rossetti's masterpieces. The artist did two versions of it, modelling his own wife for both. That one was painted after she died, from a laudanum overdose, I believe. A bit creepy, isn't that? Quite the reverse, I countered, a little peeved. I think you'll find that Eros and Thanatos, love and death, have often inspired the greatest works of art. This hotel, for instance, is itself something of a temple to... There was an uproar in the lobby, bringing our debate on aesthetics to an abrupt halt. Excuse me, I said. I walked in on a smartly dressed man berating Helen. She was close to tears. This gentleman claims his wife booked in earlier, she told me, but we've no record of her whatsoever. I introduced myself and offered my assistance. The man calmed down a little. He gave me first his own name, then his wife's. I made a thorough check of the register. I assured him Helen was right. There was no one under that name booked in. Had he tried phoning her? Of course he had. All he was getting was her answer phone. He brought out his mobile and pulled up a picture. Helen's face went blank. She contacted me not long ago, he said, saying she'd booked in to the Charlotte suite here. That's what I was trying to tell the gentleman, Helen broke in. We don't have a suite called that. I studied the photograph thoughtfully. A pale, beautiful face stared dreamily back at me from a nest of red tresses. A disheveled first thing in the morning shot. She had that ethereal, languid expression that simply begs to be immortalized in a work of art. Let the hair grow for a year, I thought. It should be a perfect match for John Waterhouse's Lady of Shalott, Mrs. Elaine Gifford. I'm afraid my receptionist is quite right, I said. There's no suite of that name in this hotel. Perhaps if you were to go home and wait, your wife will most likely... Things got nasty after that. Thank you.